Boom, 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 boom. Let's go. X Factor's in the building. What's going on? Auntie Val, happy new year to you, miss. Good to see the ladies of crypto checking in. What's going on here? Let's see, what's this? Happy New Year, Winston Smith's brain. All right, how do I do that? What's going on here? Let's go. Lotson is here. What's going on? Good to see you guys. Do me a favor, hit that like button on your way in. You know what how we do. We like to have just as many likes as we have viewers in the stream. Let's go. What is going on, crypto people? It is the Crypto Siege with another day in the life, in the crazy life that is a digital asset space. Happy Saturday and happy new year to each and every one of you. I wanted to do a live stream or two before the new year begins because, you know, I got a lot of great things to look forward to. I want to say how excited I am and proud of each and every one of you for continuing to strengthen your resolve during this very, very difficult time that they call bear market. You know, the enemy is real, as we like to say. And they don't want us to win here in this space. You got to understand that. They don't want us to win. And it's important that we level up our IQ about XRP, about the digital asset space as a whole, about traditional finance so that we can begin to fight. We have to be able to fight back. We can't fight back just being entertained. We have to level up and we have to be able to actively make moves. Right. And that is hugely, hugely important because when the JP Morgans and the Goldman Sachs of the world come into the space, they're going to try to snatch you back up into their liquidity pool and charge you for things, charge us for things like a non-activity fee. Yeah. So we got to be careful. We got to be very, very careful. Let me see. I don't know what is going on here. Let me see if I can do this. Let's do it. I did not mean to do that. Let's see if I can go back here and make a change in the stream. It's good to see each and every one of you. And thank you so much for checking in. I know a lot of people doing videos on 2023 altcoins and that kind of stuff. And that's cool. And we can cover that if someone has some questions or some thoughts on something that they might be interested in covering or learning more about. Let me do that right here. Oh, there it is. Okay. So that worked good. But I want to talk about just being prepared overall for the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is we're blessed to be early adopters in this new asset class for sure. We're blessed to be in the XRP ecosystem, if you will. But you got to know what it is that you hold. If you don't, there's possibilities that people can take it away from you. You guys know that I'm a big fan of decentralized finance. Without question, Flare Networks will be participating in that arena. And I'm really, really excited about that. But if you don't know how to participate, it can be challenging. right? So, I've been in all kinds of DeFi platforms trying to figure it out to see how it makes sense because when Ripple launches their AMM and gets into DeFi, I will be comfortable. I will be familiar. I will know the good and the bad. And the AMM is going to be a game changer. I'm going to know what it looks like to provide liquidity and why I want to provide liquidity, right? A better feeling for impermanent loss and what that looks like. That's what you want. That is what you want, right? You got to know what it looks like. And so Flare Networks launching will be huge. What David Schwartz and the team at Ripple will be doing with the XRP ledger and the decentralized exchange and the automated market maker will be huge. Right. And I'm excited about this possibility of just never ever having to rid myself of my XRP. I'm excited about that possibility. It's becoming more and more of a reality. David from the UK is in the building. How are you, David? Appreciate you checking in today. Yeah, some college basketball is happening in about 45 minutes. I'll be tuning in. Got to watch them Blue Devils do their thing for sure. Lemire says, between the XRP ledger, the AMM, and Flare, I think DeFi will finally be unleashed. Imagine when XRP agents regulatory clarity and we can participate in DeFi. Yeah, with it, 100%. And it is coming. It's coming. Look, Ripple is doing some things with the ledger and CBDCs. We're going to cover that because that is important. It's hugely, hugely important. Yeah, Lemire, you're right. DeFi equals banking itself. And I just got to be, we've been honest with you guys from the beginning. My challenges with my XRP came from centralized exchanges like Celsius Network. My XRP that is in DeFi has not had a single issue. Like, can't withdraw it. It's stuck. Transaction. I'm just saying my experience. Transaction stuck. Get a spinning wheel or, right? None of that. Like, none of that. Right? They're talking about my most valuable asset, my most valuable crypto asset, digital asset, XRP, in DeFi, the other in CeFi. All the issues and challenges, heartache has come from CeFi. Right? And you guys know I was an ambassador for a centralized platform. All the challenges and issues that I had, the heartaches, came from the CeFi, not from the DeFi. Well, you got a smart contract that just does what it's supposed to do when it's supposed to do it. Yeah, I can't call Aave and say, hey, that thing that I did, I put this there and I borrowed against that. Hey, can you give me 30 more days? How about 15 more days? Oh, I did pay this thing off and there's some issue, right? None of that. You can't do that there. Right? That's why I told a lot of people, I said, guys, stick with the blue chippers in DeFi. Let me test all the other stuff. Let me test Spirit Swap and Spooky Swap and Uniswap and Beefy Finance, right? And Tomb Finance. Let me do the testing there. Stick to the blue chippers, Aave, Compound, Curve, Convex, right? No issues, none of those places. I was in all of them, not Compound. I was Curve, Aave, right? Curve, Aave, Convex, blue chippers, never an issue. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to explain it, but there was just never an issue. And like my mentor always says to me, CJ, when everything is good, he used to say, CJ, everything is good until it isn't. And that's what happened with Celsius. Everything was great until it wasn't. Yeah, that's the way it was. So, I was able to play in both fields. My most valuable asset in DeFi, my most valuable asset in CeFi. Now, I'm just living proof of, in the end, ultimately what will work better. It's something about when you're in DeFi, you are ultimately responsible for everything. It's something to that, right? Where you're ultimately responsible for everything, as opposed to taking your foot off of the accountability and responsibility pedal in CeFi. Just look, there's something to be said about that. It really is. There's something to be said about it. There's something to be said about that. You guys can learn from my mistakes and challenges. Yeah, interesting stuff. Guys, do me a favor, hit that like button if you haven't done so already. And if you're hanging out watching, please consider subscribing to the channel. We're trying to smash the, what is it called? The shadow thing that's going on, the shadow ban that's going on in the channel. I'm trying to smash that. So do me a favor, help a brother out. Subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to ring that notification bell. Something to be said about that. So yeah, I'm excited for, what's going on with the XRP ledger. We've said on this channel time and time again, you're going to hear David Schwartz pretty much say the same exact thing that I have been saying, which is I have been saying on this channel that, are you telling me that the US of A is going to let a good old US of A company called Ripple take its phenomenal technology to Japan, to Singapore, to the UAE, and other nations, and be able to transfer anything of value in 3 to 5 seconds for less than a penny? And the good old US of A is just going to just not use it? I don't understand how that is remotely possible. We're talking about the number one in cross-border payments. We're talking about the number one. There isn't anything better, faster, cheaper, more energy efficient. We're talking about number one. We ain't talking about number 2 or 3. We're not talking about number 10. We're talking about number one. And we're not going to leverage technology. We're not going to use the greatest asset ever created, XRP, to bridge currencies, to bridge the CBDCs, to bridge stable coin. We're not going to use it. The US is going to come up with their own thing. I don't see it. Now, when you throw in the geopolitical things like the challenge to the dollar, which is what Jimmy Valley is saying and recognizes is going on and is taking the lead. There is a challenge to the dollar that is going on. Look, it's a real deal. The BRICS nation is a real deal. Good old US of A has got to come up with a solution. Got to come up with a solution. And when you don't have to go far, but just hop on a plane or make a phone call to a good old US of A company and gain access to the most liquid asset on the planet and its technology. And oh, by the way, thank you for gifting the Interledger protocol to the W3C. Yeah, I don't see it. What's going on, Kryptonic? Good to see you. Rodwell, Nobrega, what's up, my guy? CJ, I will be strong holding. I hear you, my friend. Happy New Year to you, David. You see what I'm saying? David Schwartz is going to kind of echo that. I'm going to share that little tape that he did in an interview with Anthony Welfare and CBDCs. That's just kind of really, really important to understand. Really important to understand. And thank God we're in the know. But just here's the thing that I want you to understand. This is so vitally important that you guys get this. Just because you and I are in the know, it doesn't mean that the masses are in the know. The masses don't know about this fintech company called Ripple, based out of San Francisco, California. They don't know about on-demand liquidity. Like, they don't know about RippleNet. The masses have no clue. So important to understand that. in the world, that's kind of the reality of things. And not everyone got rich during the dot-com era. I was around during the dot-com era. I didn't know. I was focused on getting to work on time and making sure Delta didn't run into United. I didn't know. And that's the same thing that is going to happen in the digital asset space. The same thing. And we're so blessed. But it's still important that we level up, because if we don't level up our IQ, man, next thing you know, you might hear something on crypto Twitter or believe the nonsense that goes on Congress or the show, the road show that is the SEC. And next thing you know, you've just, this bear market's got to you and you exited out because you didn't know what you hold. Jasper, what's going on, my friend? Appreciate you being here. High seas and chat. Wishing you, your family, and the chat a happy, healthy, and wealthy 2023. Same to you, my friend. Same to you. Appreciate you being here. That's right. Lemire Lotson is correct. He says, shoot, half of people invested in crypto still don't know about ODL. There are people in crypto, been in it from the beginning, don't understand what ODL is. They don't even understand what XRP does. They don't even understand how the escrow truly works. They don't understand about Ripple and what they're the steward of the escrow. They don't understand it. Still misinformed. And we got to just kind of get that. And it look, when Ripple is, and this asset is meeting with the IMF and the BIS and central banks, that's not a small thing. But the vast majority of people in crypto aren't even paying attention to that. Yeah, truth. I see the market guys, listen, this market is something, right? The market is just doing what the market does. Shout out to CoinGecko.com, my go-to place for learning the prices, finding out what's going on in different ecosystems like Solana's ecosystem, Phantom ecosystem, or Algorand's ecosystem. Yeah, there it is. I'll cover that in a second because this market is brutal. So you see what I'm saying, guys, about just kind of knowing what it is that you hold and leveling up your IQ in 3 areas: on XRP, on the digital asset space, and on the traditional financial space as well. Because if we don't know the global macro picture, and we don't understand about the central bank snatching up all this gold for some odd reason, right? We got to know that they're doing that. And then we have to begin to come together and contemplate why that is. Why are these central banks snatching up all this gold? There's got to be a reason, right? And in the crypto Caesar's home, we've begun to reaccumulate gold because of what the central bank is going on. Thank God we're in this space so that we can know what's going on, right? God, we got to know the big picture. We got to know. I mean, you think your neighbor knows that the Saudi have decided to take the yuan for their oil? You think your neighbor knows that China has a digital CBDC, a digital version of their currency? You think they know about whatever road China is building? I forget the name of the road. You think your neighbor knows? Like, we just don't know. You got to get where we are. We're blessed. We're really, really blessed. And when we have an opportunity to talk to our neighbor, can we articulate intelligently? That's key. It's not enough to just communicate. Message got to be received. In order for it to be received well, we have to level up. It's too costly not to know. It costs too much not to know. Legendary is in the building. Blue Rancher is here. What's going on, my guy? Appreciate you checking in. What's going on, Mark Marchese? Jay McDean, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, my friend. Shannon Martin. Hey, Shannon, how are you? Is XRP as an ESDR realistic? Is it possible to split the escrow to make some ESDR and the rest not? Well, it's cryptographically kind of a done deal. Like it's $1 billion a month. That's kind of what it is. It's $1 billion a month. So I don't know if they can change that cryptographically. I'm not sure. But the ESDR is a realistic thing. What basket end of assets and on currencies is still yet to be determined, but I don't know about splitting the escrow. But it doesn't mean that there aren't contracts, predetermined contracts of who's getting some of that XRP every single month. Doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that hasn't already been determined. I don't know. BC in the Matrix, what's going on, my friend? But the ESDR and IMF, they've been talking about this ESDR. So that is going to be a thing. For sure. The ESDR is going to be a thing. What's going to be, I believe it's going to be a basket. I don't know what the basket is going to be made up of. It's going to be hard to say. The G7 nations of the world probably have already kind of figured that out. But XRP is a liquidity tool, right? It is a liquidity monster. And it allows for nations of the world to, kind of reset, if you will, this debt. And that is going to be a thing. And it's a problem for the top 20, G7, G20 nations. They got to figure out something. And XRP is a liquidity monster. Yep, right. That's right, Shannon. Right. And according to the IMF, retail private institutions aren't allowed to, quote unquote, hold these ESDRs. Correct. So it's I remember when Digital Nomad Investor was doing videos. I'm not sure if he still has his channel, still doing stuff. And he talked about the ESDRs for a bit. Guys, do me a favor if you haven't already, hit that like button. I see we only have 9 likes and got 20-something people on the stream. Do me a favor, take the time to hit that like button. It really helps with the algorithm on YouTube. It lets other people out there hanging out on YouTube watching crocodiles devour elk. To let them know that this is a new asset space out here being built right underneath their noses. We got to let them know. Right? Because we need a new 1% in the worst way, right? We need a new 1%. Jasper says, what is the ESDR? So it's electronic, God, I can't remember the pronunciation for it, not the pronunciation, but how it's denominated. But it's just essentially what the IMF is creating to kind of replace the fiat basket of currencies. And they're going to come up with this thing called SDRs, and they're going to come up with an ESDR. Giuseppe is in the building. What's going on, my friend? Good to see you. Appreciate you being here, man. It's been a while. Let me do something real quick. The heart-wrenching, what? IMFs. I just shared something with that too. Let me see here. Come on. Special drawing rights. That's what SDR is for. My goodness. There it is there. Come on. The SDR is an international reserve asset created by the IMF to supplement the official reserves of its member countries. The SDR is not a currency. It is a potential claim on the freely usable currencies of IMF members. And then the ESDR is the electronic version, and people believe that's going to be made up of baskets of digital assets and or commodities. Right, so it'll be like the electronic version of fiat dollars or other assets. That's kind of the belief. Best wishes to you as well, Giuseppe. I appreciate you being here. What's going on, Cal T. Moore? Happy New Year to you, bro. Good to see you guys. Do me a favor, hit that like button if you haven't done so already, right? So let me cover a few things here real quick. Let's share my screen. Let's go over the market real quick, just in case you didn't know. The total cryptocurrency market cap is at 831 billion, and that's down from over 3 trillion at one time. Shannon, 3 trillion. The Bitcoin dominance is at 38.4%, and that is just not a great number if you're looking for an altcoin season. Bitcoin is currently trading at $16,582. Ethereum is trading at $1,200. Wow. And XRP is at 30, trading at 34 cents. 34 cents. The market is nothing spectacular to talk about on the 7-day. The market, again, is just kind of doing what the market does, right? Let me share some stuff from crypto Twitter. Shout out to our guy, John Deaton, that pit bull. We said from day one that John Deaton was going to be a pain in the side of the SEC, and he's proving to be just that. In reference to the FTX bankruptcy, in case you didn't know it, there is this thing called clawbacks in Chapter 11 filings. And what it means essentially is the courts can rule that any money that left that particular platform, and I believe it's within a 2-year period, can be what they call clawed back. And the court can rule that those people that received any money from a particular bankrupt platform have to send it back. So the clawbacks aimed in the FTX bankruptcy could be unprecedented. 100%, John E. Deaton. Whale Chart shared that clawback provisions could force businesses and investors to return billions of dollars paid by FTX. Mike here says he was involved in one of those at one time. It says, this is real. My firm got caught up in this a few years ago. I couldn't believe it actually exists. We were paid before a client went bankrupt, and they still owed us some money. What happened? We had to pay them back. Plus lose out on the money they still owed us. Horrible. Yep. Yep, that is a reality, man. That is, and it's a big time reality. And in the Celsius bankruptcy, this 900 million that was paid out to Tether is on the table, and they just don't talk about it enough. But if they were to get 800 or 900 million back from Tether, that could go a long, long, long way. On laptop's going on here. John Deaton shared this, and I think this is important to kind of understand this, because this speaks to really the sideshow that is this SEC versus Ripple lawsuit, the sideshow. And I personally believe that the people from Alibaba and AntPay and whatever the other alley thing is, said to Jay Clayton and William Hinman, hey, you know, we kind of scratched your back. It's time for you to scratch ours. And you know this thing called Ripple, and this Ripple Net and this payment network thing. We need a little help with that. That's what I believe happened. Yeah, we need a little help with that, because remember, Hinman and Clayton were all in on the Alibaba thing. They were all in on that, and with them trying to purchase a company and all over that. We can't forget Jay Clayton and William Hinman's involvement in that. That's a real deal, right? And what's also a real deal that a lot of people don't want to kind of accept is the reality of having been infiltrated by nations who don't have our best interests in mind, and infiltrated in important branches of this government. That is a reality. Like, like the stuff that you watch on TV, that stuff is like a reality, right? Think about this. Just take out this little quick clip from Chair Gensler. Gary Gensler, MIT, April 23rd, 2018. Compliance, change in behavior without enforcement. Change in behavior without enforcement. There needs to be clarity in the market. Just take a listen to this.
I think two classes of problems. The people who issued the tokens, are they criminals? What happens to them? And then the people who are holding the token.
Of sale from 2 years ago, but maybe you can. I think regulators around the globe will sort it through, but as you saw in the first of these last summer, the DAO, the SEC chose to write, I think it would be called an order, but they didn't actually then have a civil money penalty that they didn't charge. They just wrote an order and tried to change behavior. I think there is a reasonable case to be made that if you can come into compliance, if the Securities and Exchange Commission gives some number of months, and I don't know what that is right up a period of time, but some number of months or a year or whatever to come into compliance, then they'll look forward. The challenge is compliance is about disclosure. That's hard to do, but it's doable. Compliance is about the manner of sale. You can't change the manner of sale from 2 years ago, but maybe you can change the manner of sale going forward. Compliance is about beneficial ownership. That's a trick.
You can't change the manner of sale from 2 years ago, but you can from going forward. I think what that settlement, if we get the settlement, is going to be about. Right? Something from 2015, sure. Yeah, okay, cool. Today, going forward, yeah, new deal, right?
Tricky one. Compliance is about anti-fraud and insider trading rules. So, but I think it's more like, let's look forward, and there's 1,000+ horses running on the field that got out of the barn. We've got to kind of bring them into compliance. And even for Ripple and Ether, or maybe it's, EOS or NEO or something, but for the big market cap ones, there needs to be clarity in the market. And if the clarity in the market is that they're not securities, they might still be commodities, they might still need to comply with all those laws and so forth, but I think it's a period of time. But if you do an issuance now,
two classes of problems.
He says that there needs to be clarity. That was in 2018. Can't go back now and say it's something different. You can't go back and say it's something different. That's what Gary Gensler says now. But watch and listen to what he said in April 2018, almost 5 years ago. While at MIT, he said the market needed clarity and that even Ripple and Ethereum deserved clarity. Today, Gensler won't even admit that ETH is a non-security. What happened? What changed? Well, someone knocked on the door, right? Someone knocked on the door and said, this is what we need, right? And who do you think knocked on this door? I've been saying it from day one. I believe the banks and the banking regulators knocked on his door, ushered him to the front of the room in front of the POTUS to do their bidding. It's been well documented, the strong relationships that this current administration has with the banking cartel. What is the biggest threat? I say this all the time. What is the biggest threat to JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs? It's not Shiba Inu. It is not Shiba Inu or Dogecoin or Cardano or Ethereum. It's just not. It is this monster that is Ripple and its technology that is the XRPL, the greatest digital asset created, XRP, and the Interledger protocol. Why? Because it allows for you and I to walk away from their liquidity pool of JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. They want us beholden to them. They want us to just, deal with and suffer through non-activity charges for your account, non-activity fees. They want you to just kind of suffer through minimum balances and ATM fees. They want you to just suffer through their traditional financial products and the scams that they are, whether it be money markets, mutual funds, or IRAs. What do you think? You think your local firm owns those products? No, those products are owned by the likes of Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. Right? And BlackRock's of the world, by the way. A lot of people don't understand how many financial products that BlackRock owns, right? That's what they want. The XRP ledger with its own decentralized exchange allows for you and I to become our own banks, if you will. Choose our own money. Choose where we custody our money. And now talking about cross-border payments space of what, 80 trillion? I believe it's 80 trillion. And this company has the best technology going to capture that. It's a threat. That's a big time threat. And if you listen to people like Greg Kidd, David Schwartz, and others, they tell you the reality of the situation, that those incumbents do not want to change. They don't want to give it up. That's the big threat. That is the real threat. Let me get back to the chat here. What's going on, Mix? Good to see you. Big John is in the building. Happy New Year to you. CJ Nowhere, what's going on, my friend? Hey, Siege, do you think Flare will launch? Yes, I do believe they will launch. I do believe that 100%. Yep, sure do. All right, so making sure the stream is working. Seems like it's working pretty good. Let's all right. I gave up on Flare. Yeah, I know. It's been tough. It's been a long time coming, Jasper. It really has. It really has. But I do believe they're going to launch on the 9th. I'm really excited about it. And I understand that there's a possibility, since my Flare tokens are attached to Celsius network, that there's a possibility that those are going to be burnt. And I'm confident that Hugo and the team at Flare will come up with a reasonable solution to those people who unfortunately did their things through centralized exchanges and may not have access to their tokens. So, because this proposal is going to win. So that Flare FTP01, I believe it is going to win. It's going to get passed. And it's going to be a tough spot because people aren't going to be able to, delegate and or wrap their Flare tokens because they don't have them. Mike McCullough, what's going on? Seems like a good time to buy XRP today. I hear you, my friend. It does. And so the only other answer, I don't know what it's going to look like when Flare launches in terms of being able to get Flare tokens, but I don't know how this whole IOU stuff work with these exchanges and how they're going to turn that IOU into real Flare, or what that's going to look like. Anybody know how the Flare IOUs will turn into real Flare? That's still going to be based upon a centralized exchange doing the deal. Latest and greatest with Celsius is that Hugo has been reaching out to the people at Celsius and suggested that they just release the Flare addresses to those on Celsius to Flare Network. And then Flare Networks can issue it directly to the Flare addresses, and Celsius would have to allow them to withdraw that. So Yeah, interesting stuff for sure. And I'm hoping, again, that Hugo is going to recognize, there's going to be a lot of people unhappy. And Flare I don't know what it's going to look like. Are they going to burn and then redistribute? Obviously, there's going to be some element of what's fair and not fair. There's going to be some of that, right? It's going to be talks in the community about how fair or unfair that it is to people who utilize centralized exchanges, right? And how and if they're going to be able to be made whole, we'll see. You know, we'll see. Jody Doe, how are you, Jody? How many XRP do you think will be sufficient for? Well, I don't know a number. I've been told, word on the street, right, is 20,000 XRP will be life-changing. Right, that's word on the street, but I don't know about terms of sufficient retirement to be different for everyone, Jody. Right, it should be different for everyone, but I would encourage you guys to whoever has Flare tokens to look into something called a UCC1 filing. UCC1 filing. Look up Article 12 and I believe it's called take free clause. UCC-1-1, not slant, but -1 filing. Yeah, learn a little bit more about that. Let me see what else I want to cover with you. Oh, I want you guys to listen to David Schwartz here, because this is really the bigger picture, I believe. And I think this is what is really, really, really going on with Ripple and the United States. And it's so interesting how it's playing out. Do this. Let me share our screen. This is David Schwartz here talking to Anthony Welfare, who is the senior advisor at Ripple and kind of leading the CBDC charge at Ripple. And what they're talking about is Palau, Bhutan here, and what would cause the US to take a serious look at using technology to strengthen the country and the dollar.
Proof that this works. I think, both from Palau and then the banks start to feel like they're getting left behind. And it took that kind of pressure of seeing these other success cases. It's unlikely, it's not impossible, but it's not that likely. For example, the United States or the UK are going to be like industry leaders in deploying CBDC for real, because the risks are so much higher. I think it's probably going to take at least pilots that are successful by smaller countries that they can look at and say, oh yeah, this stuff really does work and it really does provide benefits. I think you really need to provide them this sort of almost conclusive proof. You have to have undeniable evidence that there are benefits, because they're just not risk-taking organizations. So what has come out of the pilots?
Yes, it's absolutely right. The larger nations want proof and categoric proof that this works. I think, both from Palau is slightly different to Bhutan in what we're doing there. So Palau is an island nation which uses the US dollar. So in essence, it's a US dollar stablecoin that we're building there. And Bhutan is a sovereign nation with its own currency. So that's what you probably class as a full CBDC. I think in Bhutan is interesting because we've wanted to work with them around the financial inclusion and making sure that people have access to the system. So
the preface of that, David was saying that he doesn't think, the larger, maybe top G5, G7 nations are really slow wanting to do something. They want to see proof that certain things kind of work. And there's probably a better approach to start with because they're so risk averse. It's probably better to start with the smaller nation, right? Start with the smaller nation and get this, undeniable truth for how well and it works and the benefits for using it. And then the G5s and the G7s and of the G20s of the world begin to start to do some stuff. So Ripple's approach with Bhutan and Palau is really, really significant. But David's going to go on here to talk about another thing that might perk up the ears and have G7 nations begin to stand up and sit up in the front of their seat and take some action, but mainly the U.S. What would be the catalyst for the U.S. to say, we need to start doing something now because of what's going on? And David's going to speak to what that issue would be.
It's one of the first parts, but you have to start with the wholesale banking, the bank-to-bank side of it. So that's where we started first. We're now starting to talk at the retail side. But interestingly, one of the most interesting points from Bhutan is actually the way that we're working with them is they need to use cash for their religious ceremonies, and they need to have a crisp note to take to these. That's the solution that we need to come up with. We need to understand how to do that. So what's happening with these smaller nations is they're showing us the real issues in countries that need fixing, the real challenges with, a CBDC. So we have to think through that, as well as things like in an island nation. They unfortunately suffer from really bad weather at times, which the electricity goes out or the Wi-Fi goes down. How do you make payments then if you don't have paper and coins? So these smaller nations are showing us, yes, we're on the right track. People can use this. It's more efficient. The bank-to-bank payments are great and a lot simpler. But the human side of it and how people operate is where we're now working and learning so much from these countries.
Like a threat to dollar dominance, for example. Like if there was some credible threat to dollar dominance, like that, like I know it's kind of a fantasy here, but like if there was some other country, let's say a large country like, China or Russia that like implemented some system that was some sort of threat to dollar dominance, then you could see the United States responding. If they thought that a technological solution was the best solution, they probably, you would see a priority that you wouldn't see under any other scenario, despite their natural conservatism.
And that's what's really, really going on today, right? Because if you're paying attention, there is a big time threat to the US dollar right now, right? You got the BRICS nations coming together, and the BRICS nations aren't just coming together, they're growing. It's growing. It's growing. Thank you, Legendary, and I'm going to cover that in a second. But so the BRICS nation it's just not a threat; it's growing. When you got Russia and China, we're talking about two major global players in this space, talking about walking away from the dollar and creating their own thing. So we're talking about that's major GDP nations, right? Talking about major nations with a lot of bodies, right? With a lot of people. Right. And so when you got Saudi Arabia join the mix in it as well, that is major. So the whole petrodollar is coming to a close. It's coming to an end. So how does the U.S. respond? Right. The U.S. they have to respond with technology. And it's just for me, it's so simple. It's so clear. They have to respond with technology that can provide liquidity and better M1 and M2 solutions. They gotta respond with an asset that the top G7 nations of the world agree is valuable. And that's why I say on this channel all the time, when it comes to digital assets, the top G7 and G20 nations, when they hear crypto and digital assets, this is what they hear. Right? They're not trying to hear it. But when the topic of cross-border payments come up, they all sit up in their seat. In fact, they move to the front of their seat, right? Their ears perk up. So, right? All of them. The IMF talks about the challenges of cross-border payments. The World Bank, right? The WEF, they all agree. The BIS, they all agree on the challenges in cross-border payments. All of them. So, well, if you have this asset that proves and is proving itself in the cross-border space, right? With this big challenge for all the nations, right? Then these nations will recognize the prowess and value of the asset. They'll agree on it. Well, and if they can agree on that, right, Then they can begin to look at what else can this asset do? Well, it can provide liquidity. It can speed up transactions. It can move anything of value. It can serve as this bridge currency between Japan and the US, between the US and Russia. It becomes this valuable asset that the G7 nations can agree on. And they can agree on it because they can see the prowess in cross-border payments. They can look to exchanges and other entities that are using ODL and using this asset, not just Bitso, but financial institutions and banks, right? When this lawsuit is over, just be prepared for Bank of America. Just be prepared for that. We're talking about one of the world's top banks. And the fact of the matter, if you really think about it, the U.S. is coming up on it. Their backs are against the wall. They're just not telling you that they know that their backs are against the wall. The BRICS nation and what they're doing is massive. And you get these, the Turkeys and the other nations of the world chiming in. Argentina's piling in on the BRICS nation as well. The U.S. has to respond. They have to respond because they recognize the advantages that they've had and held for a long time because of the dollar being the world's reserve currency. And they are going to have to come up and agree to some other alternative. And they got this USFA company, I just keep saying it, just hanging out with this asset called XRP, this technology called XRPL, this network called the Ripple Net. Born and bred and raised in the good old US of A. They're going to use it. No other nation owns it. It's born and bred here in the US of A. Other nations can use it, but it's born and bred and raised right here in the US of A. How can we leverage that as a nation? Like, it's a real deal. It's a real deal. And I don't know that if it's the only player, but it's number one across borders. It may not be the only player, but the Ledger and XRP is the RippleNet is the number one player right now. It doesn't mean that XDC and other things can't and won't be used. I heard there's some other thing that FedNow is using, apparently some other blockchain. Apparently FedNow is using some other blockchain. But cross-border payments is the issue. Domestic payments, for the most part, works well. But cross-border is a major problem. So you get technology that can solve this major problem. It will just take the lead on any kind of payment thing domestically because of how broad of a challenge it is in cross-border payments. Right? Legendary. Okay, so Legendary says this is how the Flare IOU works. The IOU is a reflection of the initial 15% disbursement. You can buy and sell them for any other coins on the Bitra exchange. They will become yours and then removable from the exchange when Flare says. So that's how the IOUs work. And, right now in the crypto seizures home, there's a strong consideration and just taking advantage of the Flare IOU on places like Bitra because of, what's moving forward, how Flare networks are going to operate with this disbursement. Don't want to miss out on it. And I get it. The Flare thing was free because, for XRP holders, I get it. But sometimes life just, right? Sometimes it just ain't fair. Sometimes it just ain't fair. And I notice this some kind of little strategy going on where people want to buy those Flare network tokens now in this IOU situation because the disbursement might be snatched up, right? People might miss out on the other 85%. You know what I mean? So What's going on, Cyborg? So, did I miss anyone coming in? Max PP, Happy New Year to you, my friend. Great content as usual. Thank you. Shrapnels, what's good? What's good, Shrapnels? Good to see you. Appreciate you checking in. Guys, I appreciate all of you, each and every one of you being here. Just want to kind of to share that. Macro Leon, what's going on, man? Hey, Siege, what do you think about Corium and his partnership with Cosmos Station? Are you talking about Adam? Corium will be big, in my opinion. I don't know much about Corium, Macro Leon. Other than I've heard about the airdrop, kind of the solo XRP holders airdrop thing. But I don't know much about Corium to give an intelligent answer there. I've read through their stuff a little bit. I've been on their Medium a little bit. But that's just about the extent of my knowledge on Corium. I'm just really, really excited about Flare Networks. I think it is an opportunity very similar to when Curve Finance launched. I think it's a very similar opportunity to when popular layer ones like what was the big one? Not layer ones. Who was first before Compound? Was there something before Compound? Why do I feel like it starts with an L? Now it got me wondering. So Curve, Compound, it was something else. XRP Top Boy, it's been a while, Siege. Love the lives. Thank you, my guy. I appreciate you being here. Happy New Year to each and every one of you. I forget what the L. Anyway, that's what I think Flare Networks is. I think Flare Networks can be a game changer for people early in the space, understanding the prowess of it. It is going to be utility based. So the people that will benefit the most are going to be people who participate in the Flare Network ecosystem. And I love that. One of the ways to have started that was voting on this proposal, voting on the Songbird thing, things like that. That participation is absolutely massive for sure. I can't remember the name of that doggone DeFi token that started with an L in the beginning. I remember Compound, but it was something else. But anyway, turns out to be in the thousands of dollars, right? So I believe Flare Networks is a game changer, layer one. I really do. Next year, what's going on, SK19? Appreciate you guys being here for sure. Never ever forget to level up your IQ in XRP and digital asset space and in traditional finance. It's important to know what you hold. I do, MB. I think that Flare Networks as a whole is going to be able to deal with all the madness that is the EVM. It's genius in motion. Flare Networks technology is just genius in motion. It truly, truly is, in my opinion. I am still bullish on VeChain XRP Top Boy, but I got rid of all my VeChain a while back. Yeah, well, we were really blessed with Matic and VeChain, RSR, things like that, and we exited ways back. All right, guys, listen. Never ever forget that old money doesn't want you to win. But that's okay, though, because you and I are already winning. Have a great rest of the day, guys. And again, Happy New Year. I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.